My name is Mrs. Gable, and I live in a quiet little flat in London, a place I've called home for more than 50 years. The walls here have seen a lifetime pass, from the vibrant laughter of my husband, George, to the quiet echoes of my own footsteps these days. I'm 74 now, and the world outside often feels like it's spinning faster than my old legs can keep up with. Each morning, I wake with the first hint of gray light filtering through my lace curtains, and the first thing I do is check the thermostat, hoping the numbers haven't dropped too low overnight. My pension stretches like an old piece of elastic, barely holding everything together. I mend my sweaters with threadbare patches, carefully turning off lights in rooms I'm not in and watching every penny like it's a precious jewel. There's a particular chill that seems to cling to old bones, you see, a cold that goes deeper than just the weather outside. It's the cold of quiet, of having no one to share a cup of tea with, no one to grumble about the television news with. George passed away nearly 10 years ago now, and with him went so much of the warmth from my life. My children, bless them, live far away, caught up in their own busy lives. I don't want to bother them, you understand. They have enough on their plates. So I keep to myself, cultivating a routine that is both comforting and terribly lonely. I feed the pigeons on my windowsill, watch the neighborhood children walk to school, and sometimes, if I'm feeling brave, I'll walk to the corner shop for a pint of milk, always careful to take small, deliberate steps. My greatest fear, my quiet struggle, is becoming a burden, a shadow that needs looking after. I see the worried glances people sometimes give me, and I quickly straighten my back, pulling myself taut. I don't want pity. I just want to manage to live with dignity in my own home until my time comes. But inside, there's a persistent little voice, an internal nemesis that whispers doubts. It tells me I'm growing invisible, that I have nothing important left to contribute, that the world has simply moved on without me. It's a fear that curls in my stomach, especially on the colder nights when the wind rattles the windows and the silence stretches out, endless and vast. I often think about the small squabble I had with my next-door neighbor, Sarah, many years ago, over a misplaced delivery or some garden nonsense. I can't even rightly recall now. We haven't exchanged more than a curt nod since, sometimes not even that. And deep down, I often wonder if that was just another mistake, another thread I let unravel in the fabric of my life. I tried to keep my head up, to face each day with the same quiet resolve George always admired in me. I cut back even more if that was possible. Fewer trips to the market meant more meals of toast and jam or tinned soup stretched with water. I spent more time bundled in blankets than turning up the heating, even when my old bones ached with the cold. I tried to mend the old radio when it crackled and died, fiddling with wires I didn't understand, rather than calling for help. It was a matter of pride, I suppose, but also a matter of necessity. Every pound saved was a pound not spent, a small victory against the creeping fear of destitution. Sometimes I'd see Sarah, my neighbor, coming and going. She was younger, perhaps in her late 40s, always bustling, often with shopping bags or a small child. I'd catch a glimpse of her, and a strange pang would hit me in the chest. Not resentment, not anymore, but a flicker of something close to longing. A yearning for a simple, friendly wave, a shared word about the weather, just the easy connection people share when they live so close. But the old hurt, the old awkwardness had built a wall between us, brick by invisible brick. My internal nemesis would chime in, reminding me of the silly argument, telling me she probably thought I was an old busybody, that it was too late to mend things anyway. One particularly bitter week, my ancient boiler, which had been wheezing and groaning for months, finally gave up the ghost entirely. One morning, I woke to a flat that was colder than the street outside. I tried everything, pressing buttons, jiggling pipes, but nothing, just silence and cold. It was a blow, a real punch to the gut. I knew I couldn't afford a new one, not even a repairman. The estimate from the only place I dared call was astronomical. My carefully hoarded savings were almost gone, spent on fixing a small leak in the roof just last year. I felt the cold seep into my bones, a physical manifestation of the loneliness that had been gnawing at me. Then, a few days later, a particularly blustery evening, just as the sun was setting, the entire street went dark. A power cut. One of those sudden, unannounced ones that leaves you fumbling in the gloom. I had a few candles, of course, always prepared for such things, but no electricity meant no way to boil water, no way to heat even a small can of soup. The silence of the dark flat was deafening, amplified by the howling wind outside. I was alone, truly alone, in the cold and the dark. I tried to tell myself it would be fine, It would come back on soon, but deep down, a profound wave of despair washed over me. I wrapped myself in every blanket I owned, shivering uncontrollably, more from fear than cold. I thought of George, of his warm hand in mine, of the way he could always make me laugh, even in the darkest times. I thought of my children so far away. The image of Sarah just next door flickered in my mind. Could I? But the pride, the fear of rejection, the old, festering resentment, they all held me captive. What if she scoffed? What if she just ignored me? The thought of being humiliated on top of everything else was unbearable. I was at my lowest point, truly feeling like giving up, letting the cold simply take me. Then, just as I was drifting into a chilly, uneasy sleep, a soft but persistent tapping came at my door. My heart lurched. Who could it be? My mind immediately went to worries, to burglars, to something bad. I fumbled for my walking stick, clutching it like a weapon, and slowly, cautiously, made my way to the door. I peered through the peephole, my old eyes straining in the dim light. It was Sarah, my neighbor. She stood there, a little hesitant, holding a flickering candle in one hand and a steaming thermos flask in the other. My breath caught in my throat. I stood there for a long moment, my hand hovering over the lock, my internal nemesis whispering doubts, reminding me of all the years of silence. But the sheer cold, the loneliness, and the unexpected sight of her face, softened by the candlelight, pushed those thoughts aside. I slowly unbolted the door and opened it a crack. "Mrs. Gable?" she whispered, her voice a little unsure. "The power's out, isn't it? I wondered if you were all right. I have some hot tea here and a few biscuits. Would you like to share them?" My eyes welled up instantly, though I tried to blink back the tears. The kindness, so sudden, so utterly unexpected, hit me with the force of a tidal wave. "Come in, child," I managed, my voice a croak. She stepped inside, the warm scent of Earl Grey tea filling my cold flat. We sat in my small living room, the single candle casting dancing shadows on the walls, and slowly, awkwardly at first, we began to talk. She told me about her day, about the struggles with her little boy, about how frustrating the blackout was. I found myself, almost without thinking, telling her about George, about the broken boiler, about the crushing loneliness. I told her how scared I had been, how utterly defeated I felt just moments before her knock. She didn't interrupt, didn't offer empty platitudes. She just listened, her gaze steady and kind. And then she said, "Mrs. Gable, that old argument, it was so silly, wasn't it? I'm so sorry I let it fester for so long. I should have come over years ago." And just like that, the wall between us crumbled. The climax wasn't a grand gesture, but a shared cup of tea and a heartfelt apology in the dark. The next morning, the power was back on, but something far more important had been rekindled. Sarah insisted on calling a local plumber she knew, a kind man who gave me a fair price for a boiler repair that wouldn't break the bank. She even came over while he was working, keeping me company, making me another cup of tea in my now warm kitchen. My new normal was not a dramatic change of scenery, but a profound shift in the landscape of my heart. The fear of being a burden began to fade, replaced by the quiet strength of connection. I started saying hello to other neighbors, offering a small wave, a shared word. I even found myself volunteering at the local community center, helping with their weekly tea and cake mornings for older residents. I started listening to their stories, sharing my own, realizing that so many people carry quiet struggles just like I had. I told them about Sarah, about the blackout, about how a simple act of kindness could illuminate the darkest corners. I found myself paying that kindness forward, not just with big gestures, but with the small, important ones. A smile to a new face, a helping hand with a heavy shopping bag, an invitation for a lonely soul to join me for a chat. Sarah and I now have tea once a week. We share stories, complaints about the council, and sometimes just comfortable silence. We even laugh about that silly argument that kept us apart for so long. And the most poignant part, the small twist of fate, is that the blackout, which felt like the absolute end of my world, was actually the beginning of a whole new chapter. It forced me to open my door, not just to a neighbor, but to the possibility of connection, to the vast, overwhelming kindness that exists in the world, just waiting for us to reach out and find it. I realized that the mistake wasn't just about Sarah and me, but about me closing myself off, believing that my story was over. It turns out, it was just waiting for a little light to shine on the next page.